and welcome to this week's session of What's the Librarian Reading? My name is Becky Pfile, and I'm the Adult and Teen Services Librarian here at the Ripon Public Library. Today I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about two books that I read recently. The first is a graphic novel, and it's called Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. And in this book, there are two best friends, Deja and Josiah, and they work at a seasonal pumpkin patch. They've worked there for 4 years. This is their fourth year. They're seniors in high school. And the entire story is about the last night, and it's Halloween night. This will be the last season that they're working there, and they want to make it as fun as possible. The idea is, though, that over the last 4 years, Josiah has had a crush on another worker there and has never reached out to her to see if maybe they wanted to go on a date or anything like that. And Deja decides that tonight will be the night. Josiah will talk to this girl and confess his crush for her and set into motion some wonderful romantic story. However, Josiah finds out that sometimes our idea of someone is far beyond who they are in reality. He does reach out to his crush and finds out she's entirely different than he expected. The fun thing of this story, though, is throughout the evening, they're in this giant race through the pumpkin patch to find her so that he can talk to her, and all of these hilarious things that they go through to get to that point. There is a romantic story in it, but I will leave that as a teaser. You will have to read it yourself if you want to find out. I did have a critique on this book, though. Typically, I'm one who loves just about anything I read. However, in this one, I found that the author played into stereotypes. Deja is a plus-size girl, and every episode that they're in throughout the story, she is eating something. Like, that's her focus. She has to go eat something. And I feel like the author played into the stereotype of being an overweight person, and that the idea that they eat all the time. The other thing that I felt like the author played into the stereotype was of Josiah being the typical boy, in that he was completely ignorant to feelings and how to express himself, and clueless when it comes to girls. So I feel like the author played into those stereotypes. However, the scenarios that they got into in those stereotypes were really funny. So I recommend it. It's a cute story. It's a graphic novel, and which means that if you've never read a graphic novel, they are very similar to comic books. Comic books are typically in magazine form, and graphic novels tend to be longer and go into the storyline more in depth. So it took me maybe a couple hours to read, but it was cute and I really enjoyed it. This is a young adult graphic novel. The storyline fits that genre and that age group, but I enjoyed it myself. The other one that I wanted to talk about today is Hyperbole and a Half by Ali Broche. The full title is Hyperbole and a Half: Unfortunate Situations, Flawed Coping Mechanisms, Mayhem, and Other Things That Happened. I paired these two together because Hyperbole and a Half is what I would call an illustrated novel, in that, I'll show you some of it. It does have illustrations on every page, but the illustrations and the text are interdependent of each other. The illustrations supplement the text. The illustrations, though, in this book are hysterical. I found myself laughing out loud at the illustrations almost as much as I did at the scenarios that the author gets, or the main character in the story, which I'm guessing is the author, gets herself into. So I chose Hyperbole and a Half because I was looking for something funny to read, and this one came up and it was guaranteed to be a laugh out loud story, and it was. By page 4, I was laughing out loud. This story, the stories, every chapter is a different story about something that she did in her life. And just like the title hint, they're hyperbole. So they're these outrageous scenarios, but super funny, especially if you are a dog person. The funniest story that I found in this book was a story about when she and her husband go to adopt their second dog. They had adopted a first dog about 3 months prior and discovered that this dog is lacking in intelligence, and they start calling it special dog. I mean simple dog. They start calling it simple dog. And they decide that simple dog needs a helper dog. And they tell the story of how they go to adopt helper dog. And the finding it at the shelter, there is a rescue dog. So finding it at the shelter is hysterical. And then the situations in bringing it home and introducing it to simple dog. And they had already named it helper dog, but they find out that helper dog is not so much of a help. And if you have dogs, you will have gone through some of these scenarios yourself. And that makes it even funnier. So I recommend this book as well, Hyperbole and a Half by Allie Broche, or Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. Either one will be an enjoyable read, and both will cause you to laugh out loud at times. Thank you.